Anybody new coming into the industry is going to see probably the fastest, most radical change in air transportation for a few generations, I would say. And it's tremendously exciting because of that.
Today I am with Mr. James Dillon Godfray, who is yet another brilliant boss who did not start life as a pilot or a flight attendant, but has a brilliant career in aviation. James, how did you get into the sector?
Well, I started at a very young age, so I was about 16 and contemplating what to do in terms of further training after school. And because I had some family connections in the aviation industry originally, I decided I wanted to become an apprentice, an engineering apprentice. So I did a traditional apprenticeship in aeronautical engineering at what was British Aerospace down in Hatfield in Hertfordshire. And that was a 4.5-year program learning how to build aeroplanes. And it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic time of my life. Went in every department, did every possible thing to do with building an airplane, and it also did a lot of travel at the same time as well. So a fantastic introduction into the industry. I'm very fortunate to have been able to do that.
And what have been some of your career highlights since starting as an apprentice, and now if you want to tell people what you're actually doing today, what your role is today?
Well, today I'm involved in a regional airport, Oxford Airport, which hosts some large pilot training schools, but also private business aviation and several engineering companies providing support for aircraft. And I've been here for a while now, but before that, I was involved with aircraft sales and aircraft support. And that took me all around the world. So I was selling small business aircraft for various different companies, and then got involved with companies that operated those aircraft and chartered them, operated them for individual people that owned those aircraft, and then ended up here at Oxford Airport. And as we've evolved, I've assumed a role in the development role, developing this airport from what used to be a busy little privately owned pilot training oriented airfield to something that's quite a bit more significant now, with commercial capabilities and aspiring to do some quite interesting things in the years to come. Yeah.
And is there such a thing as a typical day in your life at work at the moment?
No. Every single day is very, very different from the previous day. I come in the mornings, have absolutely no idea what things are going to come out of the woodwork. Lots of interesting inquiries, lots of opportunities, lots of little mini crises and some big crises from time to time. So it's very, very varied, and it's great because, you know, you could never say in a million years it was boring. It's a fascinating industry, and there's always something quite exciting around the corner that you're pursuing, or comes from nowhere and lands on your desk. You think, aha, this is going to be an interesting one to pursue for the day. So a very dynamic place. The airport hosts about 25 different companies that live here, and so on any given day there's about 1,000 people working on the airport. In every different sector, from engineering to design to operations, and then we ourselves have some 80 people that we employ doing multiple different roles. So it's a very busy, buzzy place, lots going on. Every day there's something new to tackle and challenges you. So yeah, an exciting place to be.
And I think before we look at some of the roles that people might not even know about, one of the things I know people are concerned about who are not working in aviation is the idea that it's an unsustainable industry. As an airport, what are you doing to ensure that you are making changes and being as clean and carbon friendly as possible?
Well, the whole sector is changing radically, very quickly now. Over decades, there have been lots of people developing new technologies to try and make aircraft more environmentally friendly. And actually, some of these technologies are all coming to a head now. They've been in development for many, many years. But now, probably in the next couple of years, you're going to see the electrification of aviation, where new aircraft types, both vertical takeoff, eVTOL aircraft types, but also conventional 9, 19, 32-seat little mini airliners will be powered by electric motors, which in turn, in some cases, might be either powered by batteries or powered by hydrogen fuel cells. And those are in aviation terms, they are literally around the corner. So in the next 5 years, you're going to see these aircraft come into the marketplace, and they will revolutionize the air transportation sector with very clean, efficient, environmentally friendly means of getting from A to B. And it's going to change our whole sector. It's going to change our whole industry. We as an airport are looking at that in very closely, and we've got a number of players in that sector that are going to come and live here and have their first operations here. In addition to that, we've got companies locally that are developing things like synthetic fuels. So instead of carbon-based fuels, jet fuel and avgas, which goes into the piston-engined airplanes, they have drop-in replacements, and they're developing the fuel from literally taking carbon out of the atmosphere, hydrogen and electricity, and making synthetic fuels. And we've got a company in Begbrook, which is just down the road, another one in Bicester, who are developing these synthetic fuels. And they will be another option on top of what's called sustainable aviation fuel, which is a biofuel and carbon jet fuel mix, which is also coming into the industry now. That's up to 80% reduced carbon CO2 levels in the manufacturing of that fuel. So these things are here now, but in the next few years, they're going to be much more prominent and on our doorstep. And so the whole aviation sector is going through a massive transformation right now, right here. And people like me might be retired in the next decade or so, but anybody new coming into the industry is going to see probably the fastest, most radical change in air transportation for a few generations, I would say. And it's tremendously exciting because of that.
True, and we're recording this on February the 1st, 2023, and as of right now, the first electric aircraft are flying and certified in the UK. So this isn't just a what's going to happen, you know, long time in the future. It's happening, as James says, very, very rapidly.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's a great time to get involved and be involved in creating a cleaner industry. But for that, we need special skills, really, don't we? And this is what the purpose of these videos are to do, is to say, you know, what kind of jobs and opportunities are available, James, and people are actually looking for people to fill these now and in the next few years.
So I can give you an idea of the roles that we have as an airport, but in addition to that, the roles of our tenants that they need people for. So as an airport, we have a multitude of different roles and departments, and they include things from, say, air traffic controllers, where there's a huge demand on a global basis, not just regionally or here in the UK, but literally globally. If you decided to pursue a career as an air traffic controller, the opportunities are vast, and you can travel the world, and the salaries are very good as well. I mean, that's really quite significant. But in addition to that, we have people in our operations department who are looking after the aircraft that are coming and going. We have ground handling department, where people are on the ground marshalling aircraft, controlling aircraft, towing them in and out of hangars, that kind of thing. We have our own fire department here. So believe it or not, we employ nearly 30 people in a full-time fire station that is based on the airport. And that is a great role. For some people, it's a lifestyle that is something that is very attractive. A lot of these roles are on a shift basis. So it's 7 days a week, sometimes day and night. But the shift systems vary enormously, and some of those shift systems suit people significantly. So you get, several days off and then several days on, and you can work late, you can work mornings. So for certain individuals, that actually is quite an attractive option. Gives you the opportunity, as many of my colleagues do, to do some other things in their spare time. So rather than 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So a lot of the activity here is not 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. In fact, the vast majority of roles are 7 days. Anyhow, so we've got those, but we've also got on the airfield a significant demand for engineers, so aircraft engineers, and you can be a specialist in different parts of aircraft. So you can be an engine guy, or an airframes guy, or an avionics person, and each of those different sectors, they all have their separate needs. But right now, today, for example, there's a pretty dire need for avionics engineers, the guys that look after the instruments in the front of the aircraft and the electronics and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of synergy with the motor industry as well. So you get on our doorstep here, we have the motorsports industry and the Formula One industry, very prominent in this area. It's a multi-billion-pound sector, and they all are after engineers as well, and designers as well, engineering designers. And there's a real need for those people in that sector. But in our industry, aircraft engineers, it's getting to the point now where it's quite critical, and because of that, the salaries are going up. And so now a young person that gets their licenses can be starting on very significant salaries. I mean, I won't mention them here, but they are really quite extraordinary. If you want to look into it, you'd be quite surprised. So that's some of the roles, and there's a good turnover in those. We find it challenging to get people into some of those activities. So lots of opportunities there.
And if someone is watching this, James, and they think, well, you know what, it all sounds great, but I didn't quite get the qualifications or skills I need, but I know that I'm the kind of person who's great at teamwork, I can apply myself with some help. Yeah. Is there help available for someone perhaps to upgrade their skills, or directions that they can take as well? Because there might be some brilliant people out watching this who think, I'd love to do that.
Well, I mean, there's on-the-job training in pretty much every role that I mentioned to a certain degree. So somebody joining us in our operations department, or our ground handling department, or the customer services side of the equation, the minute they get here, there's lots of in-house training that would be undertaken. In some of those roles, it'll take about 6 months before they're fully up to speed on being able to do that role on their own, unsupervised, and so yeah, there's a lot of training that comes with it. And so, we're always looking for the right person with the right attitude, and a lot of those positions, sometimes your basic qualifications are not super critical. You've just got to have the right attitude, and the desire to the motivation to get into that particular role and job. And then we take over and we make sure that you've got the skill sets you need for that job. So we take people from all sides, all walks of life, all basic qualifications. Obviously, for the technical roles, the design, the engineering, things like that, you do need certain skill sets from the outset. And air traffic control is a fairly niche side of the equation. Nevertheless, there are people out there with the with the skill sets from day one. They might not have a great load of qualifications, but they'll make a fantastic air traffic controller because of how their brain works. So so I would say, don't worry about what you've got, what you think you may not have as you're going through your schooling. There's always going to be roles that you can get into at a place like this, and a lot of on-the-job training that comes with that. And then once you've got that job training, once you're here, obviously we don't want to lose you, but the facts are that in the aviation industry, you're a product, you're an asset that is useful worldwide. So the opportunities as an English speaker, English being the language of aviation, you can pretty much go anywhere on the planet and be employable, because in the aviation industry, it's truly global. And if you like the concept of traveling around the world and working in different countries, there's almost no other industry where the opportunities are so great to do that. So that's another aspect of getting into aviation. It is truly a global sector, and once you're in it, and once you're qualified, and once you've got the experience, the world is your oyster.
Customer service. I think that is also a role, people who are doing customer service is also critical, isn't it? I know people are looking to fill those positions, and I've met your team who are just second to none whenever I arrive at the airport. What would someone need if they wanted to get into that, if they didn't really look like shift work or didn't feel that they were really engineering oriented? What attributes would you look for there?
I mean, we have probably about 5 or 6 people in customer services today. Just to clarify to the audience, that's predominantly looking after our private aviation customers. So we have what's called an FBO, which is a private business aviation terminal, and jets and turboprop aircraft come through there, and passengers generally have either own the airplanes themselves, or companies that own the airplanes themselves, or they're charter customers. So they're people who've chartered those airplanes privately to take them on either a business trip or sometimes leisure-oriented trip. But the point of the customer services operation is to look after those passengers, as you would expect in an airport or with an airline. You're providing customer service to those passengers, essentially. And so what you're looking for is people with the right attitude. They've just got to be the friendliest characters. They need a certain degree of an ability to anticipate the needs of those customers coming through the airport, and foresee any problems that might be ahead, and make their transition from arriving at the airport to getting on the airplane and flying off the runway as smooth as can be possible, and vice versa when they come back in again, and book them taxis, book them hotels, sort their catering out, and all these other little tasks. And so it's really, at the end of the day, qualifications are not that relevant. It's all about the attitude and the character of the person, the character of the individual. And if they're particularly enthused, dynamic, smiley person who just wants to provide a great service, they're the sorts of people we're looking for. And it's at the end of the day, it's all down to attitude and willingness to help and go the extra mile. And we've got a great team here, and that's what we need. Yeah. It
makes a great place to work too, when everyone's got that
absolutely
character around it.
Being a team player is also critically important. So yeah.
And so if someone's watching this and thinks, well, I'm interested in working at Oxford Airport or finding out more about it, London Oxford Airport, where should they go to next? What would be the best next steps?
Well, obviously, like most other businesses, we in our case, we've got social media channels, Instagram, Twitter, etc. We've got our website. But if somebody's genuinely interested in roles that might be available at the airport, we on our website, we always have any roles that are up for grabs at any time on there in the recruitment section. But if anybody ever wants to talk about what what other opportunities may or may not exist in the future, you know, they're welcome to contact us. And either myself or some of my colleagues, very happy to talk to any young people about opportunities that might arise at the airport. We try also to advertise on the airport website any roles that are available with some of our tenants. So we have big and small tenants, people like Airbus, who employ up to 300 people here at Oxford, down to little outfits that probably have 5 people working for them. So a very broad variety of companies that live at the airport, all of whom are recruiting all of the time. So sometimes you need to talk to them directly, but we try and consolidate the overall requirements of all of those companies if we know about them, and can relay that to anybody who's interested. So yeah.
Oh, thank you very much, James. That is absolutely brilliant. And I will put links to get in touch with you and the website underneath this video. Thank you so much.
Not a problem at all.